Welcome back to the Ascend Project. My name is Keegan Maloney. I am your host. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. If you're a returning guest, thank you. I appreciate you coming back. I am here with my dear brother and friend, Nick. He is the host of the Stationary Astronaut podcast. He is a marketing wizard as well as a psychedelic explorer. He's got a lot to share with us today. So welcome, Nick.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
Yeah, it's an honor, man. I wanted to start off with your story. I know you kind of talked about it a little bit in your podcast with Rick Strassman. Just talk about kind of the beginning when you got the call and what the call is and just kind of up to now.
Well, oftentimes the calling comes in the darkest place. And that's where I was. I've been a psychedelic adventurer for over half of my life. I'm almost 33 years old. But it doesn't mean I was respecting the medicine when I was a 16-year-old hippie flipping mushrooms and MDMA. You know what I'm saying? And then because it's not your heritage. You don't grow up doing a tobacco juice cleanse when you're 6 years old down in the jungle, like my maestro Alberto had to do. But that was through his lineage. That's just what they did. So white kids up in Minnesota have to basically experiment and pray to baby Jesus. Eventually you have a leader who's going to help you walk the medicine path. It came through darkness. So, in 2010, I was sitting in Hennepin County Jail, not knowing my future, facing more charges. I went through a span of between the age of 18 and 22. I got arrested like 15 different times, and this was the last time. I knew this was going to be the last time. And I would have breakfast with this other guy named Nick. He was a Middle Eastern kid who was going away for a long time, for 20 years. He was selling a lot of cocaine, and he got some attempted murder charges when he was paranoid as hell, selling a bunch of cocaine. He shot through his wall at 9 deputies that were running up his stairs. They kicked in his door, and he was paranoid. He didn't kill any of them, but he got attempted murder on all of them.
So and someone that you were in the jail with?
Yes, and every single day, this dude named Nick, he was around my age, he was just so zenned out always. And I knew the charges he was facing, and we knew how many years he was facing. And I asked him one morning at breakfast, dude, you're going away for so long. How do you do it? Because he would be up in his cell every single day, damn near all day, just meditating. And he firmly believed that aliens were going to be his savior. He was so tapped in, right? And the following day after I asked him that question, he brings a book down. It's called DMT, the Spirit Molecule. And it was a long read, and I took it right up to my room and read it over the course of 3-4 days. And that was my calling. Honestly, the first chapter in that book, I believe it was the first one, Rick was talking about the auric field of the plants and vegetation down in the jungle and how it just looked like the rainbow. And this was with a sober mind. He was explaining this. And I immediately knew I needed to be down in the jungle. And then fast forward to 2014, I get off of all papers. All my felonies get dropped down to gross misdemeanors, so I can go travel the planet now. So what I did is Judge Lund lets me off, and I immediately go downstairs to file for my passport. And I got my first passport. It came about 6 weeks later. It was the first week of January 2015, and immediately when I received it, I reached out to Aubrey Marcus. I said, Aubrey, I'm a gringo who can't speak Spanish. Send me to where you go down in the jungle. I was working a dead-end job. I had no idea how I was going to finance this trip. And
the next jungle to do.
What's that?
Just to make it clear, like, what were you going down to the jungle to do? Like, why did you want to go down to the jungle?
I wasn't sure at the time, and then I found out about this stuff called ayahuasca. And so Rick in the book DMT, the Spirit Molecule, talks about this brew ayahuasca, but it's more than that. The ayahuasca is just a bridge, and I knew I wanted to be in that state. I had never gotten there with psilocybin at this point, and I started finding out more about ayahuasca after I read that book. And then, sure enough, I got my passport. I just knew I needed to go drink this brew because it's healing people. I was so broken. And sure enough, Aubrey Marcus, the following day after I reached out to him, got back to me as I was walking into my dead end job, my factory job. This is in 2015. And sure enough, um, I didn't know what to do. And then I just kept working this job. And then fast forward a month and a half, February 19th, I go see this Brazilian psychic who didn't know me from Adam. I got linked up with her through a family friend. And sure enough, halfway through my reading, she just got this strong feeling. She didn't know I got my first passport. She didn't know I was planning on going, that the intention was set. And she just gets this feeling halfway through the reading and just grabs this piece of paper, writes down Peru, circles it, stars it. All the while, that's where I was planning on going. She slides it across the table, and tears just start falling down my face. And then that next day, I put in my 2 weeks at this dead end job, started training for restoration sales with my friends up in the Twin Cities who I was in treatment with. And the rest is history. I started working for this company for some great entities who are in recovery. They're just God's gift, Greg Stein and Steve Kaganowski. And they just kind of like took care of me, man. And then I started collecting checks from this, and I found my way, dude. Source just had its way with me. It just drug me down there in 2 days. Even for first couple years going down to the jungle, I would go every August, and I would call it off the grid August. I would cut off from basically all social media. Only email I would use is my work email. So I just cut off from everything and just focused on myself every August. And I still pretty much do that to this day. I still, because we run social media campaigns, so I still have to be tapped in, but everything has changed for me. And 2 days before I went down my first year in 2015, my Volkswagen Passat shits the bed on me on I-35, and I was just being tested just countless times before I went. Like, dude, you're gonna earn this, Nick. You're gonna earn this. And then the second year I went down in 2016, they boarded us on the flight. We were going through Dallas Fort Worth at this time to get down to Peru, and sure enough, the flight to Dallas Fort Worth got canceled while we were on the flight about to be on the tarmac.
Mm.
And I thought it was a joke. So how you travel to the jungle, it's a long jaunt. Okay, it's a definitely 24 hours worth of travel. And mind you, if you only leave 2 days ahead before your retreat, you're pushing it. Let alone if your flight to Dallas Fort Worth gets canceled and it was the last one for the day. So I had to basically just call an audible quick. I had to go back home and then call my wife, have her come pick me up, and then literally drive back up that next morning at like 3 in the morning to catch the first flight to Dallas Fort Worth. And then it was 25 hours worth of travel. I was literally walking into the hotel, the pickup lobby at the hotel that we would all meet at in Iquitos, Peru. I literally walked in and they were just finishing up shop. Gave everyone who I was meeting down there a big hug, and then we just went into the jungle. So I went into my second year, first night with no sleep, fresh off the boat, basically. And honestly, you're always getting tested by the medicine. It just tests you and tests you. How committed are you to this path, Nick? Your car broke down. It had to get towed while I was down in Peru, because it was like that. It was like I wasn't going to have time to be able to handle my broke down car on the side of I-35 and internationally travel. So I basically had to leave it, figure that out kind of before I went, and then just send some emails while I was in the jungle to get it picked up. That's how committed I was. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? Nothing was going to stop me. And it really has just like been the symbology of my life, where you have this deeply rooted dedication where you know everything works out for itself. So it causes me to not stress. So if I stub my toe, if I lose, like this summer, one event we lost because we had to cancel the event, we were going to bank 185,000 net. But guess what? There's nothing I could do. So the pandemic happens, that singular event that was going to, in a nutshell, make our year, we had to scale up, keep scaling up. So that's what we did, like the audible of life. It's
Mhm.
just always so, like, when you listen to Bruce Lee and you be water, that is where you're just malleable. You're a chameleon at all times. You just know you're going to shine bright regardless. And that's the medicine path for me, is taking leaps, taking any obstacle on the chin and continue moving.
So, what can you describe Nick? I mean, you did a little bit, but Nick before his first ayahuasca experience to Nick now, like how did that transform you as a person?
Immature, selfish, egotistical. I was just not prepared to be a man. I'd thrown away basketball scholarships, living the fast life. You got to realize I was a 17-year-old kid supplying this entire city with cannabis, the best. You know what I'm saying? Fresh off the boat
Mhm.
and selling pounds and pounds and pounds and just living fast and just throwing the essence of life away for the next hit. You know what I'm saying? It was just so I was disrespecting the craft of life prior to ayahuasca, and very selfish, and just living so fast. And then honestly, some got some head injuries. There was a span of like 6 months. I got like 4 concussions, separated my shoulder. Just I was getting humbled. I was getting humbled. And then my final charges, I got sober for 4.5 years, after I caught my case in the Twin Cities, which was an assault case. Drinking, first week on Zoloft. Doctor at Mayo Clinic puts me on Zoloft. I drink on it. My first day of a full dose, so I get prescribed Zoloft on that Monday, and then that Friday, October 9th of 2010, I drank on it and just blacked out. Caught an assault charge on campus, and then got my ass beat by the cops. And this was a month after separating my shoulder, falling down a flight of stairs, knocking myself out. And then they beat the shit out of me while tasing me. All charges were dropped because these cops were known for beating the fuck out of people. And I was just getting humbled. Life was just humbling me. So what did I do? I just went on this, like, even before ayahuasca, I went on this like spiritual path of service above self. So I really just started giving back, dude. I was involved in the Alcoholics Anonymous program and still keep all my connections there. It helped make me. It was my foundation. And yeah, stayed sober for 4.5 years. Besides pot, they kept trying to lock me up for cannabis. So the last time they locked me up was in 2014. Literally, they're like, Nick, we know you've been smoking pot your entire 9 years on probation, right? So they're like, we're locking you up for one more time. They put me, because I was always working, so they put me in work release for a month. And then of course I worked, whatever it is, sentenced to serve, STS. So you literally, each day you work, you actually chop an extra day off your sentence. So it was supposed to be 30 days. I ended up doing 20 days. I get out, and what do? I immediately go dig a garden and stuff. I was growing lotus flowers at the time, just existing, right? And this is all pre ayahuasca. And then that following month, they let me off. And then that's when the story really began in late 2014. It was election day. And so Judge Lund's like, I'm letting you off, and you have to go immediately to the polls. You're going to go downstairs. You're going to register. And I registered to vote and got my passport. And then I went and voted that day, because I was no longer a felon. So I fulfill my promise. And to this day, my sentencing judge, he's a great friend of mine. We'll have a beer now and again. I'm really good friends with his son as well. So I've just kept these connections in my dark times. I've kept the ones who were my glimmer of hope, the
Mhm.
people who I literally just audited my circle hard for 4.5 years. I got really good at auditing my circle, not keeping negative vessels around me, that were going to drag me down, because I knew where I was going. I knew what I wanted to be, and it all came from just doing the right thing for my sovereign vessel, where I just honestly, I got to this point where the blinders were pulled off, and it wasn't being sober. Yes, that helps, but really it's what happens when you get sober. It's the things you could never predict. You know what I'm saying? Like being okay with not being okay on a Friday night when everyone else is out partying, and the fear of missing out just doesn't exist. You know what I'm saying? It just, I'm okay with working on a Friday, working on a Saturday night, working on a Sunday morning, to build something. And then once I started coming back from the jungle, because I would only be there for like 10 days, right? And then I still had the rest of August to keep my shit in line. So I would just do a lot of soul searching and meditation. And then I started my company. And then it really just turned into being this glue piece for society, because these topics we talk about are fringe, okay? And when you start really diving into like psychedelic healing modalities, where no, you don't understand, I professionally operate in this realm. I don't take mushrooms on a Friday night to escape. No, I'm reconnecting. And it's to the point I don't really even need to eat mushrooms anymore. We just ate them for 4 straight months every Monday while doing cold and hot exposure. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if I do need to go back to the well, I will. Like I was just in Colombia last weekend drinking ayahuasca. I went down there with a specific purpose, to reset my gut biome, and knowing that I was having gut and neuro specialist coming on my show, which just came out today with Dr. Kate Pate, I was diving deep, doing my research, understanding what this stuff is really going to do for my gut. Because we're inflamed species, so dude, I do my due diligence is basically what I'm saying. Like I don't just talk about this shit, I am about this shit. And that's what throws me off with these people who are existing nowadays and they have a breakthrough experience because the medicine is powerful, but they don't do the work after the fact. Okay. And they, maestros and shamans and ayahuasqueros and facilitators will tell people this, who come back after their first retreat and they have this post retreat glow, but it actually starts like shining as a god complex. And I'm guilty as charged. I came back and wanted to tell everybody about this shit, right? But then it gets to the point where it's like, oh my gosh, the work is just within me. I'm always doing it. And it comes from a higher understanding of who I am, why I'm here, and what I'm here to accomplish. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah. I really think you brought up an important point talking about how it really is the work, because I really don't want to give people the conception that with plant medicines or psychedelics, it's like the magic pill that's just going to fix all your problems. And it absolutely is powerful. But at the end of the day, the work you have to do to be the person that the medicine or you really want to be is increased tenfold. And yeah, it's almost like you're taking on a big task of, okay, now live this life, now do it. It's not a thing where you, at least for me, I've never done ayahuasca, but plant medicines in general have shown me that I'm the medicine, and the way that I be the medicine is by doing the work day in and day out. And it's hard work, it's not easy, but it's so worth it because of the life it brings you. And this kind of brings me into the other question I wanted to talk about. I did listen to that podcast with Dr. Kate Pete on the way, and it's a great podcast, by the way. Everyone go check that out. Stationary Astronaut. Um, but just talk about gut health, because you've been releasing some stuff on social media about that. But why is gut health important?
Well, our gut's our second brain. Okay. We have 30 neurotransmitters that specifically come from the gut. Two of the most important, serotonin and dopamine, which are our happy chemicals in our brain, 90% of that comes from our gut. So anytime someone approaches me and says, I'm not feeling like myself, because I kind of have become this uh, like a self-help hub, I guess you could say, where people utilize me as a resource. And I'm blessed to be able to do that because I've worked hard to get the connections I have, and gain the information I have. Gut health is everything. So you have someone with arthritis, they should be checking out their gut health. There's a reason why fecal transplants exist right now. But even a fecal transplant is just the bridge, like ayahuasca or any psychedelic is. The work is after the fact, right? Kind of like someone who has their, they get not a tummy tuck, but they get their stomach, they get their stomach, they put a band on it, they put
The
a band
waistband.
on their stomach. Yeah, so the work starts after that. Okay, so they made your stomach smaller, and that curbed your appetite a little bit, but the work is just beginning. And that's the same thing with gut health, where it's a process. So we have, trillions of fucking bacteria down in our gut. Some is good, some is bad. But the thing is knowing just the conscious connection between our gut and our brain chemically, that is a gift to understand that, because it shows us to chill the fuck out on eating all this dairy. Because it's always been known that if you eat a lot of dairy, you're clogging up your chakra system, your lymph nodes inside. You have one that's your gut chakra right here, your throat chakra. You know what I'm saying? Your pineal gland, bunch of glands that are energetic points, and you clog it up when you eat a lot of cheese. And then what do we have here in the Midwest? A bunch of fucking cheese. It's on everything. And people are wondering why their guts are all out of whack, because you get leaky gut. And basically, how Kate Pate broke it down for me was, our gut is not supposed to be in connection with the outside world. Unfortunately, or the inside. So our gut is the outside world, because our anus is an opening and our mouth is an opening. Okay, so it's literally connected to the outside world. That's the microbiome we're breathing in that actually helps our gut. Right. So when you get leaky gut from eating all this shit, that is where you're basically introducing your internal that isn't supposed to be connected to your gut, because your gut is technically outside of your body. And when that starts intermingling because of leaky gut and all this processed shit, that's where you're basically inviting inflammation and disease.
Hmm.
It's not supposed to be connected to your innards. There's a reason why your intestines are a sac that sends it out. You know what I'm saying? All the while, that is very important, because it is connected to our motherfucking brain.
So
And people, like, I read the book Clean Gut while I was down in Costa Rica drinking ayahuasca in 2018, and that just changed my life. It's a short read, and you get put on this clean gut protocol. And what are the things you have to cut out for 3 weeks? Gluten and dairy. Can't have any of it. There's a reason why, because it's inflaming our bodies.
So if someone wanted to take action to take care of their gut, the two biggest things that you would recommend is to cut out gluten and dairy.
And sugar. Processed sugar, get processed sugar the fuck out of your diet, because your gut flora eats that stuff. There's a reason with gluten. Gum is 99% gluten, besides the sugars and stuff that's in gum. What did we learn growing up? Don't swallow your gum, it'll stay in your gut for 7 years. That's all the fucking gluten. There's a reason why. And then they pump it as a filler, and it basically keeps breads together and stuff, right? There's a reason why, like, dude, Subway bread, ugh, you're
Mm.
basically just eating a ball of gum that, like, got baked and tastes good because of the sugar in it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I would cut out gluten, cut out dairy. Now, cutting out dairy for everybody, it's not for everybody. You can have a little bit, like, I'll have a little bit I had a Reese's a couple nights ago. You know what I'm saying? Like, my body isn't going to freak out over that. But oh boy, if I spend 2 days, like a weekend, if I get the case of the fuckets and I spend a weekend eating pastas and crap like that, oh boy, I'm paying the price. You know, that's me personally. But I always recommend to people, get tested, go get blood tests done. I don't have the makeup for celiac disease, but I do have gluten intolerance, so my body just doesn't react to that foreign compound. And that's just me personally, but I honestly suggest everyone get some blood tests ran. Might cost you a few $100, but it's better to know. That way you have a direction you can go.
So gut health to me doesn't seem like it's talked about as much in our current healthcare system. And I really think that this will be a big topic in the years to come. What are some other ways you see the healthcare system changing in the future?
Thaddeus Owen was just on the show, and he dropped a dime for me. He said, we're going from the age of we're going from healing to knowledge to knowing. So the more we become aware, we are actually going to be proactive with our health. So we don't need to be healed all the time, because when you have the search for healing, it's a money-making scheme. So if cancer was all of a sudden cured because people are proactive with their health, because cancer is an onset disease that comes from inflammation, well, guess what? That industry dies. So that industry, ever notice how all these cancer telethons and all of um, these colon cancer campaigns and these breast cancer campaigns by the NFL, they don't want that shit to end. It makes them too much money. These foundations exist because the disease still exists. That's how they exist. So if, dude, I was on the board for March of Dimes, right? And I was looking around. I was like, this woman, she's got $140,000 salary. That my boy, who was like her right hand man, had an $80,000 salary. If cancer gets cured, they don't have a job. So people's jobs are based on cancer existing. You get my drift? The new radiation therapy, the new chemotherapy. Well, guess what? That's a lot of effing money. So the future of health is knowledge. It's proactivity. It is people getting fed up with it kind of being a plague to their bloodline. Oh, my dad got lung cancer, so that means I'm doomed. No, Jack. We are aware enough to not smoke cigarettes. We are aware enough to do things like cold exposure to beat the inflammation out of you. You know what I'm saying? It's no secret the power of breath alone. Holotropic breathing, the Wim Hof method. My homies started Breath House. You know, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, they run us through a 45-minute gamut. You come out, it's natural nirvana, Jack. And all I did was just beat down inflammation for an hour, you
It
know?
it was a completely endogenous experience too. Like that's nothing external. That's fascinating. Just breath.
Yep,
So,
just breath.
like, what are so you see knowledge being at the forefront of the future of healthcare. You see breath, gut health. You made a post on Facebook a couple weeks ago how you believe that psychedelic plant medicines can heal the world.
Mhm.
What does that look like to you, or what did you mean by that exactly?
So people's perception of everything that's going on. So fear, living and leading in a fear-based society is basically everyone's immune system is compromised, right? So fear literally brings you down to a place where you are more apt to get disease. And if everybody who's a grown conscious adult dabbled in I honestly, we could get you there in 3 experiences. And it should be mandated for anyone who wants to be in a position of leadership, whether it be in a company, a big company especially, as well as that's why you're seeing a lot more conscious CEOs. I'm down in the jungle with them. You know what I'm saying? And it's awesome to see these leaders who are running Fortune 50 companies who are tapping in so they can be connected with their employees who are their family. And then their employees' families are their family. And when you treat it like that, that's a future of business as well. You get my drift? So plant medicines can heal the planet because we will become knowledgeable of why we're really here. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So, um, for instance, we have leadership that they get kind of like you don't want a cure for cancer because you get paid on providing solutions for cancer, right? That's the same thing with politics. These politicians don't want the other side to agree with them. They don't, that's not where their bread and butter is. They need disconnect so they can have a reason to exist. That's a lower vibrational vessel. And unfortunately, they're in positions of power. You get my drift? War makes money, Jack. There's a reason why the military totally backed Trump because he literally they went and fucking beat ISIS. He put a bunch more money into the military and then they went and beat ISIS in 3 weeks. The military guys love that because it's like, oh, especially when they're lifelong military vets and they're now private contractors. They make a lot of money, tons of money. So much of our military spending goes to private contractors.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So war is money. So that means disconnect is money. So unfortunately, fear sells. If it bleeds, it leads. Any news network knows that. But you want to cure. There's a reason why all my friends who are in news broadcasting end up quitting and going into real estate. You get my drift? Because they get so sick of just sharing the negativity. If it bleeds, it leads. No, Jack. That's why I truly believe that the future is in it's a knowledge-based lifestyle where we go back to basically our roots of reconnecting with the planet, getting our circadian rhythm dialed in. We're all going to be wearing blue light glasses till kingdom come. I got a new hoodie from Primal Hacker. It's basically got this Veraday material inside of it, and it's 5G blocking. So we have electromagnetic waves around us at all times. We're still the guinea pigs for them. You can bet I'm going to be proactive and I'm going to think ahead with this stuff. It doesn't mean I'm this paranoid freak. No, it just means that this stuff exists and we're guinea pigs for it. We haven't experienced this yet. We've never had been surrounded by electromagnetic waves all the time around the clock.
Yeah.
That's the future of health, is just people being proactive and aware.
Technology is advancing at an exponential rate. I mean, we're getting farther in 1 year than we did 10 years ago in 5 years. So, with talking about electromagnetic fields and the radiation that's around us, I don't think that's going anywhere. And I think anyone with a brain would say technology is here to stay. But how do you see technology playing a role in society in like the next decade? Like, what are your predictions?
Bring on those Amazon drones, baby. Like, I'm welcoming it. I'm all arms, arms wide open. But the thing is like I don't have this doom and gloom about it. Yes, AI technology is going to get insane. It already is. Your best bet is to use the algorithm to your advantage. You know what I'm saying? Because we're in the Wild West and we're actually blessed to be this young and not have to be going through the technological age that we are as a 60-year-old. You know what I'm saying? We actually have a head start. And I look at where I'm at. You're technically like you're a generation just behind me. Okay. And that's beautiful because I get to help influence people like you and work with people like you who are young, have that vibrant energy before having kids and stuff like that. And that's the most important thing, is use this squeeze to your advantage, produce as much juice as you possibly can while you got it. Tupac had an amazing quote, and because someone asked him why he's always fired up and and really trying to like push the man as far as he could, and he's like, I have to do it while I'm young because I won't have the energy when I'm 30. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to be on a different thing. So you have to earn your right in your 20s to be a king, and then you get your crown in your 30s. And really, it's an enlightenment cycle. You get my drift?
Mhm.
It becomes like as you're so young and it starts to all start clicking. Time is going to do what time does. It's going to teach you things along the way, right? But when you're young and you're tapped in, that is where you have life by the horns. You have now grabbed life. And you are so, when you're able to be that young and to be able to capitalize like you have, you're not just a league ahead of the rest, you're light years ahead of the rest, because we're seeing how these 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 17-year-olds are getting sucked into the vortex of the comparative society we live in, and they're not executing. So when you have someone like Keegan Maloney who has had these experiences and now he's doing the work that the medicine has shown him, that's where you've got life by the horns. Imagine yourself in 10 years and just work, 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 work. And before you know it, you're like, oh my gosh, it all makes sense. And I'm so glad I got a jump start. When people they start in their 30s and then they won't get their crown if they're lucky till their 40s. And it's like, dude, what is life at that point?
Yeah.
You know?
I absolutely would not be here without my psychedelic experiences, and they have just opened loads of work for me, but it doesn't feel like work. It feels like play. It's fun. And I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you if it wasn't for psychedelics and just the things that has opened up for me, like starting this podcast, starting my own business at the start of COVID that you helped me with, reading books now, meditating. I'm getting more into art and drawing and just creating content and just it's it's not a drug, and I have a I always have to especially right now, I just have to make this clear because I really wanna break down the stigma because most of the people who are listening to my podcast right now is just my built-in audience from small town Minnesota, and I know when they hear these things, they're like, "Oh god, this kid is crazy. He's talking about illegal drugs." And I just want to make it clear, like, guys, this has helped my life so much, and I wouldn't be here without them, and I have never been healthier, never been happier, and I attribute that to, 1, me putting in the work, but really psychedelics for opening that door for me,
What's the opposite of knowledge?
not knowing.
Ignorance, right?
Yep.
So the people who judge from the outside are the ones who have not tapped in. They don't possess the knowledge. And that's okay because it's not an if but a when. You're gonna want to do it. It might be when you're 60. It might be next week. The problem is people are putting themselves in circumstances that are like, say they have a bad first trip, right? And that ruins it for them. Same thing, you see this a lot with cannabis. Okay, someone ate an edible one time and they ate the whole fucking thing, and they didn't have anyone guiding them as a facilitator to say, listen, we'll start you off here simply because I have professional experience with this. That goes to with anything. So people from these podunk towns who are, one, they hate themselves and they're just judgmental. I see this a lot, man, because I grew up in a small town and it's just the same old ignorance. Because in my post from a couple weeks ago, where people just in these podunk towns have not utilized the internet and taking full advantage of it, that's the same thing. It's just picking and choosing what you want to accept in your life. The problem is they're holding themselves back because it's not, you don't have to experience ayahuasca, DMT, toad medicine, psilocybin. You don't have to. That's your prerogative. You are your own sovereign vessel. The thing where I draw the line is you haven't earned the right to be judgmental then. You get my drift? Until you're aware, you're still ignorant. So you don't have the right to judge
Yeah.
unless you're aware. You can, if you go to the well a few times, I can promise you, you're going to find God. You're going to find sanctity. And I can promise you, you're not going to judge anymore. You're going to exist and you're going to unconditionally love because that's what you've come back with.
Mhm.
The love, the universal hug, the universal language. You know what I'm saying? Like people, they don't know what they don't know. And that's okay. But the ones who are experiencing and the ones who are pulling from it and doing big things, oh, by golly, your favorite movies were created by psychedelics.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Your favorite pieces of art were created because of a psychedelic experience that that artist brought back with them.
Religion.
What's that?
I said even religion.
Oh,
Like, yeah,
religion as well, of course.
and that's kind of the forgotten foundation. There's a book that just came out. I think it's called The Immortality Secret. I haven't checked it out yet, but Joe Rogan's got a podcast with this guy who basically talks about how psychedelic substances were the foundation of the religions of the world, and that's forgotten.
Yeah, I've been listening to it. Um, it's interesting how he breaks it all down because he goes back when knowledge was pure. You know what I'm saying? And there wasn't judgment because somebody is taking a psychedelic and talking to God. Shout out to Moses.
Yeah, that's the thing is I feel like religion nowadays, it's a blind faith. You don't have direct experience with God. It's just you're having faith that it exists, and what plant medicines have given me is that direct experience with God. So it's no longer I have to believe, it's no, I know God because I've experienced God. And at least that's how I'm wrapping my head around it. But that's what it feels like, just pure, divine, infinite love that just wraps you up in a blanket and hugs you for the duration of your experience. And I feel like that's the number one thing that these medicines have taught me is that love is the fabric of our reality. Love is what holds everything together. Love is why we are here. And psychedelics have tapped me into more love than I could have ever imagined.
Absolutely. I always tell people don't believe in Jesus, be Jesus. What is that doing? You're cutting out the middleman, especially when you experience source like you have. Well, it doesn't make any sense to put my power in a third party. I am powerful and I have the ability to do all good and to live a karmic based lifestyle where I summon in the good things because all I'm doing is trying to be uplifting and do good things. I am now a proactive knowledge base as opposed to a belief system is actually handing over your power. When you know and it's foolproof, no one can take that from you.
Absolutely. I want to pivot a little bit because I want to talk about stationary astronaut and the roots of it. I mean, I know you talked about how you started it after coming back from the jungle, but just talk about like the journey that stationary astronaut has brought you on.
Man. Oh, sorry. Entrepreneurialism is the most spiritually rewarding path you can ever possibly go on because it's up to you to create everything out of thin air. Stationary Astronauts started off as just a podcast, and then it's since become a multimedia outlet. We run campaigns for companies. We helped make companies millions of dollars over the pandemic because they all had to kind of go on a soul searching pivot themselves, right? And we were able to assist that. We also throw badass events. We throw unique one-of-one events where we bring, like for instance, Where the Minds Meet, where we bring out world leaders. I went into that with a game plan of creating the TED Talk for millennials, and that's exactly what I did. Throw a DJ on stage with world-leading speakers, Netflix comedian, and run amok. And what that does is when you accomplish something like that, it it beyond external respect you get from people and accolades. Like I won awards after that. I got awarded a couple things and it was just like I don't even know where those trophies are. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm doing it for the internal journey where now you can never take away the fact I fundraised $250,000 by myself in less than 8 months. If you want to talk about soul sucking, and I had my first daughter during all of that, literally a month after I signed the contract. So when you show yourself internally that you can do that, that it's possible, oh boy, Pandora's box opens up. It's to the point now where all these no's have led to yes, yes, yeses. And like we're just getting opportunities like crazy. Like we got a commercial we're doing with Adam Thielen and John Kuhn coming up. You know, John Kuhn, longtime fullback for the Packers, is opening up a ETS facility in Green Bay, and we're doing a partnership with ETS between longtime Minnesota Viking and Minnesota native Adam Thielen, co-founder of ETS, and John Kuhn. You know, like those are opportunities that just fall in our lap. That people they reach out to us, you know. And for instance, just like getting to work with one of my favorite comedians, Theo Vaughn, or one of my favorite companies on it, you know. Like talk about insanity when it's like if the universe isn't working in your favor, like this is my sober date, right? For 10 10 10. Okay, if that doesn't tell you we live in the matrix, I don't know what does. And then 10 years after being locked up reading Dr. Rick Strassman's book, I'm interviewing him exactly 10 years later on Thank You Plant Medicine Day. You know what I'm saying? Like, talk about the universe saying, okay, you're doing the right things, you're on the right path because these opportunities fall in your lap. And that's where, like, I take knowledge from books. Like, when I read the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, it showed me so much about, oh my gosh, okay, so I just keep working and working and working towards things. We form, like, I consider myself now a master negotiator. Okay. I'm always negotiating deals all the time. I'm working with two general contractors right now with the new business we're starting, and guess what? I'm negotiating more deals. I got to send over. I've got to send over two offers to agencies by this afternoon. You know, one for Mark Rebillet because we're running back our Mark Rebillet show that got canceled this past year. Yam House as well, Heatbox. You know what I'm saying? And like we'll bring Prof back out and we'll do all this stuff. I'm always negotiating something, right? And that was my rite of passage. That was my, or I'm never going to be able to masterfully play a Beethoven song on a violin. I'll never be able to do it. Okay. My masteries come through business. And that's where, when I read that book, I just basically knew that I'm putting in my time right now. I grew up in small business. I've been in grimy business. I've done a lot, and I've earned the right to be able to say no to things I don't want to do, because I used to have to say yes to everything just because you're so hungry and desperate to succeed. And I've learned that from the greats, like personally knowing Joe Rogan's booking agent and having an basically, I can send an offer and it's going to see Joe today, right? It humbles me to get no's from him. I've gotten 2 no's from Joe Rogan. But the thing is I have access. That's the cool thing, is I can keep sending him offers. I guess we're going to have to pay him a little bit more money now that he's making Spotify money. You know what I'm saying? But that's the cool thing about it, is like, we have access to a plethora of options nowadays to do work for anybody. Reaching out to Kasky yesterday. I saw he's dropping new merch on Friday. Guess what? I hit him up and said, "Hey, bro, let's do some work." He hits me back right away. Like, I'm lucky as fuck, but I've earned the ability to get yeses, because, dude, when I was your age and I was throwing, at that time, I was throwing fundraisers. We used to have to walk into these, I'll never forget walking into Paws and Claws, telling them we're throwing a fundraiser for them. We didn't even ask, because if we asked, that's where no's come. So we just did it, right? Made them a bunch of money, and I was 20 years old, and we made them a bunch of money, and it was like, we earned our right to throw events. You know what I'm saying? And I was in DECA, I was in business classes in high school, and we would throw this fundraising campaign for a month called Christmas Anonymous, right? And we would raise a bunch of money for I think families in need, and we're just like basically selling our soul to throw events, and just like trying to book your buddy's high school band, and they're willing to do it because you can't afford them. You know what I'm saying? And they'll just do it for free for the opportunity. There's no way in hell we're going to be able to get a paid gig in here. And then you start throwing paid gigs and having to call audibles day of because Chris Lawrence, fresh off of American Idol, his car broke down, and we had to fucking go get JT and the Gunslingers at that point. And like, dude, you just earn your right to be able to just do shit, because you're constantly facing scrutiny, no's, deception. The amount of times I've had, like, dude, during our Gary V event, I had my entire team quit on me 2 months in. Once they realized they weren't going to make any money, we were actually going to lose, and they were my friends, and they all fucking quit, dude. So what did I do? The competitor inside of me, I still went and pulled it off. You know what I'm saying? This past year, actually, old boy who linked you and me up, he was our videographer. We brought him on the start of 2020, and he ends up quitting on us. Well, we had been working on these deals for these companies, and guess what I did? I still went and got those deals, and then rehired somebody and grew our team even more. You know what I'm saying? Because these people, these young kids, they're just not patient nowadays. They just don't. They think time is something totally different than what it is. You get my drift? You can use time to your advantage no matter how old you are, or you could succumb to it and think that it's the end of the world because everything didn't fall in place for me this month. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, bro, like, Stationary Astronaut has evolved so much just in the past year, to the point we had to evolve. And that's the fun part of being an entrepreneur, is it lets you know if you really have your stripes or not, is if you can come out the other side glowing.
Yeah, I think one thing that you've taught me that has absolutely been essential for any amount of success I've had is the art of the pivot and
Mhm.
being a chameleon, just being able to adapt no matter what life is thrown at you. And it sounds like that's exactly what you guys have been doing for this past year. That's awesome to hear.
Well, I couldn't do it without you. Like, I am the type of person, I was just talking about this on my New Year, New Me podcast with my boys, Timmy and Dave and Luke. And I was talking about how, like, I draw from the people around me. You guys are my batteries. You get my drift? But you're uplifting batteries. There's a reason why I surround myself with you. You know what I'm saying? And we all draw from each other. Like I expect you to ask me questions, little things. Hey Nick, how'd you do this? How'd you do that? Oh, it's through this, through that. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm an open book. I've got nothing to lose. All I've done is gain. And it's by giving. It's by sharing knowledge, sharing information, sharing conversations, sharing stages. You know what I'm saying? That's the fun part about it. Handing out opportunities to people you love. High tides raise all ships. That's how we win, is when everybody around you wins.
Absolutely. And that's what's going to take us into this age of knowledge is just being open, sharing, and being of service to everyone. And not only does that fill their cup, but it fills yours too. So it's beautiful, man.
Not being afraid of judgment. Honestly, like that's the cool thing about when you just are so sure of who you are, you no longer just believe you know. That's where what I do and say, if it affects you some kind of way, well, that's a personal issue. It falls on you. It's not my duty to fluff up an idea and like bullshit. It's no, like I'm just transparent. So when people from our hometowns or whatever start judging, that's where it's like, that's on you, Jack. I know who I am. I know where I'm going. I know what I've accomplished, and I know where I'll be in 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. I'm scaling up, baby.
Hell yeah. I I really want to talk about things that people can do on a daily basis to cultivate self-compassion. So, can you just give some things that you do on a daily basis to show yourself little acts of love to really develop self-compassion for yourself?
Absolutely. Drink water, shower, bathe, brush your teeth, eat carrots, get a sweat in every single day. You want to talk about personal self compassion? It's taking care of your vessel. You know what I'm saying? And being conscious of what you're putting into your brain. So, what you're consuming, what you're watching. That's probably the biggest way to show self compassion and personal self love would be to not consume the darkness. Shut off the news. Get that label, which is now become like a COVID Karen, right? Get the COVID bug out of you. And I mean, quit consuming it. Quit worrying about it. What pays these news companies to push this stuff is because you keep eating it up. So if you want to show personal self-love and compassion towards yourself, quit consuming the nonsense. Consume positivity. And if you can't get it from an outside source, well, God damn it, you need to tell it to yourself. Every single day, I love me more than anybody, and I have kids. And if I don't love me, if I'm not putting my life preserver on before our plane goes down, I'm no good to anybody. So until everybody, this planet starts taking it upon themselves, that's why I said plant medicine can save the planet, because it forces you to go within and start working on yourself and to care about yourself. That's the only way you can provide value to the planet, is if first you take care of your vessel. Honestly, it's the little gains, the little wins day in, day out that stack up. And they turn you into this like machine of positivity. You can't be thrown off. Bro, I have so many people on a daily basis talking that shit. And you want to know what I do? I laugh. The internet right now is just satire to me. You get my drift? And it's only satire because I know who I am. So you see me just doing my thing constantly, just working, because nobody's going to do the work for me. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to do the work on myself. Like I just released this video this morning about energy vampires, right? People are praying for your downfall. They celebrate when you lose. That's because they're so insecure. They're not doing the personal work. Okay? The ones that can honestly, genuinely clap when you win, those are the people you stick around. Like, bro, I'm telling you, it even falls inside your family. These cats who, like, because they ended up in the trades or they ended up, just kind of being an employee, they hope that you end up an employee. That way they can say, I gotcha, whether they'll admit it or not. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, bro. I honestly, like, on a daily basis, just eat fucking carrot sticks, dude. get a sweat, drink lots of water, you know, mix in some tea some days, some black tea instead of drinking coffee every morning. You know what I'm saying? Just like give yourself a cleanse, buy that good face lotion. You deserve it. You know what I'm saying? Um, just do a remodel of your house if you need to. Like I did a remodel this past year simply because I felt like my walls were caving in, had to open it up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And I did that for me and my family's just personal care. So we could just be happier inside of our house that we, pay the bills at, you know?
Yeah, it's the absolutely the daily actions that are a culmination of your daily actions is who you
Mhm.
are. It's not who you think you are, who you want to be. Like, what do you do on a daily basis? That's what's going to create you. And it's just the little things like making your bed, eating healthy, drinking water, having good hygiene, being surrounded by people that uplift you and that make you feel good. Just doing what you want to do and makes you feel good on a daily basis is absolutely essential for not only your own health, but giving yourself fully to this world. So I love that. That was beautiful. But I want to end with taking a page out of your book. What are your top 5 inventions?
Ooh, my 5 greatest inventions. Oh, number one would definitely be Steve Jobs. Reason being, Steve Jobs brought us so much. Steve Jobs created a concept to connect the world with blue bubbles. Steve Jobs' inventions have made me a lot of money. I owe so much to Steve Jobs. Okay. Number two would be Plan B. We need more Plan B in the world. What that means is people who shouldn't be having kids shouldn't have kids. You get my drift? Because we have a bunch of broken ass people walking the planet, creating more broken people. Now, until those broken people, everyone has the right to procreate, okay? But until those broken people really figure themselves out and dial in their own existence, it's you can't be having kids. You kind of gotta get back to earning the right to have kids. You get my drift? Know who you are first before you think you're going to create this lost entity that gets older and goes through puberty. You know what I'm saying? Plan B, very powerful. My third greatest invention would be sweatpants. Sweatpants make the world go round. Okay, sweatpants are the go-to for anyone who lives a life. You get my drift? Sweatpants teach you so much about just being comfortable in public. You know what I'm saying? If
So
you can confidently walk in on a Thursday night into Target with sweatpants on, you're living. You know what I'm saying? That takes a whole new kind of confidence, especially a female who can do it. Oh my gosh, look at that confidence over there. Number four is Dr. Dre.
Dr. Dre, okay.
Dr. Dre brought us so much. Dr. Dre, he literally economically changed the planet. He brought us the top hip hop artist of all time in Eminem. And yeah, Dr. Dre is my number four greatest invention. Number five would be uh, number five. Oh boy. Number five. I obviously I've thrown people in here. Um, Number five would be I'm gonna go with two. It's gonna be water and vegetation. Plants can speak to us, and with H2O, like they teach us so much. They're finding out so much about water has memory, right? And if you talk down to water, it actually takes on a different form. Okay, holy water, for instance, man, if you can talk up some water and you take a shower in it every single day, setting that intention, oh boy, you're going to be energized on a molecular level. And then vegetation, how much knowledge it holds, and the teachings I've gained from vegetation is just mind blowing, and it's given me everything I have right now. Honestly, because I've taken that knowledge and I've partnered it with these old Steve Jobs inventions, and it's given me everything. You get my drift? So that's the symbiosis between technology and Gaia. You get my drift? My 1 and 5 are actually one
Mhm.
together. And I think that's the future as well. As long as we do the work, we get these signs and these messages from this vegetation that we consume, and then we utilize it by connecting one another through technology. And Steve Jobs' plan all along, I think our messages are going to change the world for sure.
That is so true. I mean, dude, Steve Jobs was tapped in, absolutely tapped in. And when we can marry technology and the earth, we're golden. And then it's limitless. Then the evolution continues. Not that it's never we're never not evolving, but that's where we're going. So I love that. Well, thank you, Nick. I appreciate it, bro. This was awesome. I just want to throw in a final uh little shout out to Stationary Astronaut. Go check him out. Where can people find you, Nick?
You can find us on Spotify, Apple Play. You can find us on everything. You can go into your Alexa, say, Alexa, pull up Stationary Astronauts, and they'll start playing a podcast. You can find us everywhere, Google Play. Yeah, man, I just like, honestly, I appreciate this opportunity. Keegan, anything you ever need, I'm just one holler away. I'm one Steve Jobs message away. I got your back till kingdom come, and I appreciate everything you've given me.
Love you, bro.
Love you, bro.